Welcome to another series of recipes for resilience. And today's topic is going to be about resilience in the context of development cooperation and consulting. This is Pauliina Mapatha, your career wellness and positive mindset coach. I'm on the mission to support, inspire, challenge people in change, transformation, and wellness. And the series Recipes for Resilience focuses on opportunities and coping. How are we coping with the different adverse experiences in life and at work? And now, currently, we are still surfing the waves, whether it's the second or the third wave of the COVID-19. So things have changed. Some of our resilience strategies might work. Some of them we might need to adjust as per the challenge that we are experiencing currently. And my guest today is Janet Whitelaw-Jones. She's a partner at the Turas Partners and a co-founder at the Turas Community and the Women's Consulting Workshop. In the workshop, Janet and her business partner, Helen, support women in their consulting journeys. And Janet also has 20-year experience in international development, of which the past 5 years as a consultant. And what I've also learned is that her expertise lies in health and organizational development. Well, she's much more. She's a mom, she's a podcast host, she's an active community member. And let's see, I think we're going to learn more about her and her work and her resilience strategies. Welcome, Janet. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Pauliina. It's really nice to be here.
Did I make any justice in your introduction, or did I miss something?
Yes. No, it's perfect. It was perfect. That's exactly that's most of it.
Okay, and so today's indeed we want to talk about. Well, we actually both have a background in the development cooperation, and well, a bit different ways, and also in consulting, and that work that Janet is doing also in the women's workshop is very exciting and very important, and that's how I've sort of got to know her and thought she would have something to share for many of us who maybe are experiencing some changes currently, work-wise and otherwise. And yeah, she has promised to share firstly her own resilience strategies and maybe some own life challenges, work challenges that she's experienced, and what kind of strategies she has developed, as well as then broader strategies for women in consulting or development consulting, I believe. Let's go to business. Janet, what kind of challenges you've had, and how have you developed your resilience, like in general, and obviously maybe there is something specific now during the pandemic.
Oh, thank you. So I guess I think sometimes it's one specific event that I think happens to us that maybe that's where we develop our resiliency strategies, or it's something that's built up over time and lots of tiny things that help us. And I think for me, it was something very personal that happened when I was 28. We were living in Brussels at the time, so I was working already in an NGO, and our first baby died, sadly, just after he was born. And that was probably, for me, the first, I guess, one of the first things where life didn't quite go as I'd hoped. And actually, out of that experience, which was terribly sad and heartbreaking, actually, I realized that we have this wealth of resiliency or power within us, and actually things that really, so one of the key things actually that really helped me was talking to other people, was finding other women who'd gone through a similar thing, and exercise actually, and kind of walking and running, starting to run again, And those, and writing, actually writing things down. So those were sort of where I went first. I was just so desperate to find somebody else who'd been through this experience. Yeah, and so I don't know whether that was sort of one of the things that sort of really, yeah.
And that's quite a major thing in life, to lose a child, and
yeah.
But what you are mentioning is really, I think, which goes beyond into any such a adverse experience, is the peer support. To find the people who actually understand that they have gone through the same or
exactly
very similar thing. Thank you for sharing such a personal thing, from your life.
Yeah.
How so that was a major thing, and you managed to overcome that, and so is that sort of a foundation for your resilience? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what happens is, I'm not sure overcome is what happens actually. It's more that it gets built into your life, and that it sort of becomes very much part of who you are, and the strategies that then you use, I mean, oh my goodness, actually, when it's really interesting reflecting on it now and thinking about then the Women's Consulting Workshop and why we set that up. And it's the same thing. It's to find other women who are doing the same thing and connecting people together. And so, I mean, there's been other lessons from that I've taken. So the connecting with other people and sharing and just hearing other people's experiences, because our experiences are not all the same. They may start in the same way, but we go in different journeys, and there's just so much learning, I think, that we can all bring. And so for me, that was really one thing that was important. But I think the other thing was the physical exercise. I think I really needed that as well. And I do, I mean, and I run at the minute. I'll have injured my foot at the minute, so I'm not running, I'm walking. But it's something, when I look at the lessons that I learned from that particular event, and then how we've behaved, or what I've done during this pandemic, and how I've managed my day, all of those things come out. The exercise, the time, creating this time. I'm a pretty structured person, and I know I'm a real morning person. So I know that if that I want to build these things into my day, I do them really early. And so I get up early, I go for a run, or when I'm running, I run the minute I'm walking. So I'm up for a walk, and just having that in my day I find it immensely powerful, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you also mentioned writing or journaling.
Yeah,
more like a journaling.
Journaling, yeah. I've sort of journaled on and off throughout my whole life, actually. And when I before I got into consulting, I worked for an NGO, and my first NGO posting was in Armenia. In 1995, and I wrote so much then, because again, we were talking the other day about how you find jobs in the newspaper, and I remember laughing and thinking, but when I first started my first job, we had to there was no email, we had to fax, and which was funny because the phone lines would quite often be really jittery, and the thing, often you couldn't read the writing.
Yeah.
And my first laptop was black and white because they hadn't figured out how to do color yet. It was really funny. So actually, and I remember at that time just going to the central, Yerevan, where I lived, has this beautiful central square, and they do this amazing coffee. It's really strong. And they'd go and just sit in the square and just write. And I have all these notebooks from way back when I just used to write down all my thoughts, and because I just come out of university, I was kind of in my early 20s, and you're going through so much change, and I was just learning so much. So it was, reflection for me is really important.
Yeah, and so we are both in our sort of midlife now.
Yeah,
and so I also remember that like even before working, but like traveling, and part of my master's thesis was the field work in another country and all that. I really remember that it was almost impossible to keep contact to parents or to friends, in the home country whilst you are away, because telephone was so bloody expensive, and And then you would have the letters or the postcards, and then you're just saying, depending where you are, like how long it will take and will it eventually arrive. And then now, well, it depends where you are based. You have a good internet connectivity, but in most places you might need to go somewhere on top of the hill or somewhere, but you probably get a signal somewhere. So things have changed. Now let's look at this also as a development professional. I mean, obviously I've got my personal experience, and I've as a coach also. So just to say, I think some of the generic challenges is like living often in an environment, or the conditions where one work, if one is on the field, can be challenging. Often it is very few companies have like permanent positions. It's often contract to contract type of thing, which gives stress and also like some of the things you try super hard because you really need to get always a super good reference to get another contract. Budgets in the sector have been currently cut, probably influencing their consulting and so forth. And I think the other thing, what is sort of my interest, is the adaptation to change. And if you change, you're in consulting, it's always a new client, so that it's a new culture, it's all that. Or if you are in the contracts and in the field work, you change the location. So you you bounce from one country to another. So resilience is something in that sector that I think you just need to develop it, otherwise you won't make it. What are your is there those experiences in that sector, and now that you also like support other women in international consulting or development consulting, what do you see are the main challenges there? And is there any gender specific challenges? Because I see you mainly you support in the community, you support women.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the first question about moving from different places if you're on short-term contracts, and in one way that's quite exciting. And it also depends. I mean, it depends very much on how you show up in the world and how, what your personality is, if you're an introvert and an extrovert or whatever. And I know I'm a total extrovert, so I get energy from talking to other people. But I guess strategies that I would use when I arrived in a new place, which I've done. I mean, I've lived in lots of different places, and sometimes for 2 years, sometimes just for 6 months. But just seeking out the people, looking for, and I'm sure that looking for people that I think I would connect with around either a hobby, like finding the runners, finding the triathletes, or finding some other interest area. And it's interesting because I think in one of the there's always groups of people gathering for something. Sometimes people gather. Some people will find friends and people who will support them through like religion, churches or something like that. So that would be one of, if I'm moving around, that's what I would do. I'm not doing that at the minute, but so that's one of those things. What was your other question? About the gender. Yeah, about why women in particular. I think. So the Women's Consulting Workshop came about, and it's been an idea that's been in my mind for ages, actually, because I used to work inside a consulting firm, and there just wasn't a very good pathway for people to become consultants. And I'm sure that's changed to some extent, but actually to some extent it hasn't. And there was a very specific sort of picture of what a consultant looked like, and this was also 15 years ago, and it was very definitely male, just wanting to kind of retire. They've got 25 years experience of something, and that was it. And I thought, and it seemed to be totally impenetrable. And I thought, I really don't understand why this is. Anyway, so that was, I remember thinking there must be a better way, because there are so many people out there with so much to offer. And kind of over those sort of 15 years, I sort of thought about the idea. It's just been sitting there for ages. And then 5 years ago, I started out as an independent consultant and really wanted to have this group to sort of somewhere to talk to and just to kind of bash ideas about. And there wasn't one. And so, but what also kept happening is Helen and I work together, and we run the Women's Consulting Workshop together. And we would independently, because we've got two different networks, we would independently get questions from other women. How did you set up? How does this work? How did you get your first client? How did it, what happened next? And I thought, my goodness, we get all these questions specifically from women, and interestingly not from men. So I was also curious about that. And so that's why it's the Women's Consulting Workshop, because those were where the questions were coming from.
Yeah. And so I wonder if we just, like, it's gender specific, that as women we feel more comfortable to approach other women or women for support. And one thing, because you are a mom, and then, like, when you said when you used to have 6 weeks or 6 months or 2 months, like field work. I don't know. Is there some gender specific threads of leaving the kids with the hubby or nanny or something, or did you used to take them along?
Well, no, actually, because I just changed the type of work that I did, and I actually decided not to do field work whenever they were very young. And so it's only sort of almost in the last two years, 3 years, that I've taken back doing field work. But I'm quite specific about how long I could travel for, and it's not that long. And actually, the thing is that there are many really brilliant consultants already in the country, wherever the fieldwork is taking place, and we should be using them. and I guess trying to, but it's sometimes very difficult, I know, for other firms to find those people, but they're there, and so leaving I for a while I just did quite a lot of desk-based stuff, which I was happy with, because actually and I think that's the good thing about consulting, right, is because it goes in seasons, and you can pivot to whatever your season is. Actually, and COVID has shown us that, that we've all, like, everything that I do, all of our workshops, and some of them, it's been interesting to sort of, we do a lot of organizational development and theory of change work, and we do training and writing and all sorts of things like that. And actually, putting those online, it's been really good. It's been really, it's worked really well. There's still a different feeling or a different atmosphere when you're in the room with people, and things, I think, take a lot. So things that would have maybe taken a 2-day sort of workshop development of strategy or theory of change process with a team, and in some sense that's lovely to be in the same space as them, and and have that feeling. But actually, we do it online, and it's maybe 3 half-day sessions or 4 half-day sessions split over 2 weeks, which is a different experience, but it works. It's okay. It's been okay.
Yeah. So you used to run your things live, like days, and then you did pivot to now that part to run online. So you are part of this. That's a big change.
That shift. It is. Yeah, it's a big shift, and I don't know. I mean, because your stuff has probably moved online as well.
Actually, in my case, I was. In my case, it's the opposite. I was positioning myself as an international online coach, and then now everybody's online, so I'm no more special. So there is the bad is that I'm not special in that regard. Yeah. I'm very special, otherwise I'm also.
You're very special, Pauliina.
But the thing is, the positive is that clients that might not have considered online thing probably are now much more ready for online engagement. So it has the both probably pros and cons. But
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, but what you were talking about your workshops, that now it's like several half-a-day sessions. So I'm just thinking that I actually find that, or is it maybe that people get more time to reflect between those sessions than if you just run 2-day workshop?
Yeah, I think that's really true. They do. They get more time. So we kind of chunk it into chunks. And so then they can go and think about it. And then, we come back within 2 weeks and then we sort of reflect, here's what we did the last time. And actually that's been, it's COVID has lots of unintended consequences. And I think that's one of them for how our work has been, with this sort of this time for reflection in between. And actually, rather than us creating a space for people for 2 days, we create a space, this kind of little bubble that they can come into, which is so different from their day-to-day, right? It's not project management, it's just this complete bubble. And actually they get to think about things and they get to talk about and answer questions about their work in a way that they didn't normally get to. And it's quite different for them. Your brain goes into a different space. So yeah, I think the reflection is really interesting. We're back at that reflection word again and the writing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe is it your favorite word?
Reflection? Do you know, I think it might be. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking, and I'm just thinking about your point about back to the gender thing, and do we as women we like to connect with other women, and we feel more comfortable asking for advice. And actually, and I don't know, I went to an all-girls school and I totally loved it. And there was it was just it just felt very safe and very, you could just be all that you could be. There was no, because there was no complicating boy situation. It was just all, I just loved it. And I know some people probably didn't like it. So this is all just my personal experience, but I really there's a different vibe somehow in groups where I have been in exactly the same way, I think. And I know this is super gendered, but there is definitely a different vibe. And there's a different vibe if it's men only as well. I think that creates a different space, and sometimes that's the right space for people to be in. That's okay. But I really enjoy the space that we've created, and it's a really, it just feels very, I don't know, it feels safe, and it feels we're able to ask questions that maybe I've seen in other groups where there are, and this is not a completely different topic, not on development, not on anything else, where it's very mixed. And if you ask a question, almost people are kind of tutting a bit, and it's, they're not as patient or they're not as helpful. And I don't know whether that's because there's more people. I don't know why that is. And it could have nothing to do with the gender, right? I don't know. All I know is that I like whenever there's a group of women together and we share, and it's maybe harking back to that kind of like, we're all left at the camp sort of, years and years and years and years ago, when we all used to live in caves. Yeah. And the men went off to hunt, and there was a really sort of rich experience with the kind of elders, the elder women in the tribe. There's something about that I really like.
I love it. And tribe, isn't it? Especially in this online communities, it's so important to find your own tribe.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Tell me more about our audience, the workshop, the community. So what is just more about the purpose, and also what kind of content and discussions are going on, or we can expect?
Yeah. So I mean, the audience is basically, it's really simple. If you're a woman already working in consulting, or if you're a woman who wants to work in consulting and could do with some support, that's it. And the audience is made up of this. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I think it's this amazing mix of people who do all sorts of different work. And some it's in the international development sector or the social impact sector, because also there's women who work in I don't know, Germany or New Zealand or wherever, and they're working locally in their own place, which isn't considered international development, but it's, you know, in that space. And actually, so we've got a really wide variety of people. Actually, it's really lovely. And often the conversations go around, sometimes around mindset, or sometimes it's more around the kind of the sort of nitty gritty of we've just been talking about proposals and kind of what, you know, what to do, what that looks like. And I mean, the knowledge in the group is phenomenal. And then we have these Friday cafes, which are sort of just like, we just thought, you know, we could not talk with voices, and I think speaking with voices and seeing people is also really lovely. So and they're very short, right? I mean, we're all really busy, so they're really short. We don't do them for very long, and it's just people come in, and they can come in for 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, and just, you know, ask some questions. And that's been really nice to get to know members of the group better. And maybe whenever, you know, if we get more people, we might have to structure them a bit more, but anyway.
Yeah, but I think it's also now during this pandemic, you didn't mention, oh, you did, peer support. So it's still the peer support, and it's that need for us to connect, social connection. And
Yes.
And whilst we, I don't know, how is it, can you go into cafe easily now, like physically, or are you avoiding these things because of the pandemic?
Well, we're just coming, actually, yeah, we're just coming out of, I'm based in the UK, in southwest of England, and so we're just coming out of sort of lockdown again, which is really lovely. And because this second one has felt hard. It's felt, you know, because it's been over the winter, and we're not close to our families here. I'm married to a Scot, his family is all up north, and my family are mostly in Northern Ireland. So we're not, you know, an hour's drive away, we're a 12-hour drive away or a plane ride away, and we can't stay in each other's houses. So we can't go and just sit in the garden and then drive back home again. So it's felt a very long time that we've actually, you know, met with the kids haven't seen their cousins. And so now we're just coming out, and it is really lovely just to sort of, well, I haven't been to a cafe yet, going on Tuesday, because my eldest boy turned 18, which is very exciting. I know. So yeah, it's coming out of it feels just this, you know, this connection that we have again with humans in the one place will be really special, I think.
Yeah, but I can just imagine also the women workshop members. Obviously we are different. I'm also one of the members, and I live with my family, and in South Africa currently it's not, the situation is under control in so far. We're waiting for the third wave, how it will come. And so the children are going to school. I do my crochet shopping. I mindfully meet my local friends, but still it's just like professionally to meet other people like-minded and just to exchange notes and actually I think I've as a solopreneur, I have like a group that we meet every second week for and it's sort of an accountability group and support group and inspiration group. So and we are also happen to be that we are all women, and
there you go.
Developing new services or new business or already in business or whatever, but it's that connection and peer support, I think. But in my case, that group, they are not in same field. So what I find now from your workshop is that there are people who have the similar background than I do, or aiming to work in the field. So that's lovely. What about if you would need to just give 2 main recommendations? One as a just for an individual in a sort of experiencing a challenge, and then another one like now the mentor, the one that has 20 year experience in the field, and like more generally for people in the social impact and or development sector about resilience. What would be your 2 top tips?
2 top tips. Okay, so my first, I think the journaling actually is the first, because, and you can, and just making a kind of a deal with yourself that you sit down and write 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So, and try not to feel overwhelmed by it, because quite often when you sit down to write, and I remember this in Armenia actually, when I started to journal quite seriously, and I would sit down and think, gosh, I don't even know what to write. Like, what am I going to write? And I just looked up and thought, well, I'm just going to describe who I see around me. Like, that's what I just literally started saying, right, there's a woman over there and she's having minty tea and she's got a child with her, and then started describing. Then all of a sudden the thoughts of what's going on, start to come, and then you can reflect on them. But the daily practice, or the habit of just those 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the morning or before you go to sleep or whatever, is really, I think that's really key, because actually you don't often, especially if there's something going on, if there's something going on that if you write it down, often the very act of writing it down starts to make more sense. And I've done this in different ways. I've sat with a pen and a notebook, and I also use Evernote on my computer. And so sometimes I type it. And I know there's lots of theory around, using a pen and a pencil or pen and a piece of paper is supposed to be much better physically for how your brain works. I just start. So that's my first one, write or journal. In terms of the second one, in the wider sort of development context, I think probably connection, honestly, with other people in some way, who are doing a similar thing, whether you need something locally or, whether you're happy with something online, but just that connection with other people is because also that just helps you feel like, it helps you see what other people are going through, that not everybody has it sorted, that not everybody is, that most of us are grappling with these questions about how we juggle family life and work, and what we do with the kids when they're not at school and we're supposed to be working, and I think we all have these similar questions.
Yeah. I love it. And as a coach, I would just maybe add that if you're daily journaling, if you can try to keep on positive note some of the things, sometimes when things, if you're feeling very low, or hitting the wall in one way or another, or being overwhelmed, or whatever is going on, just to even pause and think, what are the 3 positive things? And I think you call your newsletter like that. But what are the 3 or 5? What are the 3 or 5 positive things in my life or in my day today? And it doesn't matter if it's something very small, like it could be, we have a pet rabbit. So like if I've had a bad day, my good thing could be that, it was so nice to snuggle with Cookie. Cookie is her name.
Yeah.
or
I love it. Love it.
My best thing today was my almond milk cappuccino.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be something huge.
Exactly.
But eventually you start finding the bigger things that you can be grateful for. Even in your work related, you don't have a big contract currently or something. You could say, today I learned a new thing or something. So
I love it.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a really important point, Pauliina. It's a really important point. And actually my mum, oh gosh, we grew up with my mum, and that's exactly what she always told us, that you have to have, she called it this was ages ago, she called it a positive mental attitude. We had to have a positive mental attitude, and it didn't mean that we weren't allowed, like obviously, like we talked, there was hard stuff. I grew up in the middle of a practical civil war, like there was a lot of conflict going on, but having learning those gratitude things, I think that's really vital. It's a great point.
Well, your mum is super clever, or does she come? Is she a professional in that field, or was she just?
She's a midwife. She was a midwife, a community midwife, but she was so attuned, I think, to to women and what women needed, especially going through that. You know, she was such a supporter. She's still with us, but she's such a supporter of women going through birth and birthing processes and kind of, relaxation and what helped. And I mean, yeah, she was incredible actually at that. She's a really amazing. And yet she came with the same self-doubt that everyone has, or that most women seem to have. You know, she would regularly doubt her own experience.
Yeah, I would even argue we all have, and it's just the level of we can improve our mental fitness to be more on the positive side, but those the inner critic will still look at them, and we just need to say hello, hi, okay, but I'm deciding differently.
Exactly.
Differently.
Yeah. There's all this other stuff here, and I'm just choosing to ignore you for the minute.
So it's really, really important. I bet now there are many people who are very excited about joining or finding more about your work, or maybe perhaps joining the women's workshop. Then anyway, so I'm just to tell, you're going to share, and I will put in the show notes.
We'll put it all in the show notes.
How to find you and the community online. And so thank you for Janet for sharing your personal experiences. And I'm just saying, even now that you mentioned that, like really hardship, growing up in a conflict, in the middle of a war or conflict, losing your first child, and then just any other challenges in life, adverse experiences and all that, and that then you've become an independent consultant, and I believe a part of it is really to, am I right, to make best out of your own time and life on your sort of your terms also.
Totally. That's that's really true. Just to kind of, I think, and I can't remember who said it, but that whole idea of a rising tide raises all ships, and I just think there's so, and I know I keep going back to the workshop. There's women, I see so many women in there with such great potential, and actually who can really contribute to this international development and social impact sector, who can really make that better. So that's where I think about it. I think about it at that level, that if we all, if we're all encouraging each other, then actually we just make the whole sector better.
So I think as a concluding remarks, whoever is listening, you are not alone. We all have self-doubt. We all are expanding into something new, and I think the top tip, or what I'm gathering, is to build your resilience by journaling and networking, or you said social connection, and so please don't stay in a stuck somewhere by yourself.
No, definitely not.
So we are going to share the links, and we're looking forward to see other women in the field of social impact and development to join us in the workshop, and also tune in the recipes for resilience series. I'm publishing interviews with inspiring women every 2 weeks. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you, Pauliina. Thank you.
Bye-bye.